It's coming to that time of year when it's autumnal, the rain is here and you just can't get down here. So one of the things you do is at this time of year is to start making plans. I was thinking about my plot and I thought, you know, what do I want to change? And there's quite a few things that I am going to change for next year that I wanted to share with you today. But then it got me thinking, if I'm making changes to my plot, what is everyone else doing? What ideas have they got? So I decided to ask them. So I invited a few YouTubers along today just to share what changes that they've got in their gardens and what they're changing on their allotments as well. And they're here to share them with you today. So as I mentioned earlier, there's a couple of things that I am actually going to change this year, one of which is my greenhouse. I haven't really utilised this greenhouse to its full potential. I've grown tomatoes in it, I've grown chilies in it, but over the winter it's just kind of sat dormant. Last year I just used it as a dumping ground basically. So this year it's something I'm going to change, and I've replenished all the beds. So they are now free of new compost, all lined with their fresh compost ready for the growing months over the autumn and the winter months. And that's what I'm changing. I'm growing over the autumn and winter in this greenhouse. So one of the other things, one of the other ideas that I had for my allotment this year was about its growing room. I lost my other half plot this year, which meant I lost quite a lot of growing room as well, which was a little bit disappointing because I did use it, and that's the thing, I lost a chunk of my growing room. And then when I looked at this plot and how it was laid out, I decided that there was too many pathways. So over the course of this year I've been slowly removing some of the pathways so I can add to my growing space. So this plot was set out rectangular down the middle, with pathways coming to the side, a bit like 8 rectangular beds, and it just wasted a lot of space. Yes, I needed the pathway, I need one down the middle, but I don't need pathways to the side. I can take some of them out. So that's what I've done. This here was a pathway. It's a little bit swamped at the moment, but this was a pathway which I'm now growing my garlic in, hopefully, fingers crossed, if it hasn't rotted in the ground with all the rain. But this is now a growing space. I've also taken out another pathway which was here. Again, the water logging, don't worry. You can see the remnants of the path here where I've just need to cover that over, but this is going to be my strawberry bed for next year.
Morning. So Emma from the Garden of Emma had asked about doing a collaboration for what are you going to change for next year, and that would be my huge job for Gerald, moving the brassica cage. Now it's fine where it is, don't get me wrong, it works functionally quite well. The problem is these beans. Now if I'm going to grow beans again next year, which we know I will, harvesting beans from against a fence is not the easiest thing to do because I can't get down to the bottom here. So what we're going to do is move this huge cage, and it's not as much work as you think. All I need to do is undo the screws on the batting down there that holds the cage down, and the legs themselves are screwed in. Take the roof off, which comes off every winter anyway because of our snow, and cut down the middle there. These are 2 separate actual arch pieces that were in here before, so to take them out is not that much work. You unscrew 4 legs and then pick it up and move it over. We have done it before, trust me. So that's what my biggest project is for the winter, and hopefully it works out okay. And it will go on these 2 beds here. 2 beds here, one against the fence, one where all the tomatoes are right now, because then it's up in the corner, it's out of the way, and I don't have to worry about it. And if I had any brains, that would be where I would have put it last year. So my poor asparagus is getting dug up again for a second year and moving it to where the brassica cage is right now. And yeah, insanity reigns supreme in Allison's garden. Have a great day. Bye. Thanks for inviting me over, Emma.
Hello Emma, and thank you for inviting me onto your channel to give me the opportunity to share with your viewers what I'm planning to do next year. So over on my allotment plot, I'm planning to install a wildlife pond, which will be fantastic for the wildlife. I've been inspired by so many YouTubers and fellow gardeners. Danny over at the Grapevine Garden, who's got a fantastic, on his fig and olive plot, he's got a fantastic pond, and it's really just inspired me just watching and seeing how it just attracts so much wildlife. It's brilliant. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. So on my allotment plot, I have a nice pond so that we can draw in more of the wildlife. I've not shared this on my own channel, but what I'm planning to also do this coming growing season is to share my home garden as well. This is a south facing garden, so we have lots of tender plants, bananas, as you can see, they're going over. I've got some cannas over there behind me as well, and so I'm hoping to have some more veg beds here in my home garden, also some fruit trees as well, so that will be really, really nice. And you never know, we might even have some chickens at some point, which we can have at the bottom of my garden. So lots of plans to share with you all this coming growing season. So thank you for having us. Me and Daisy are now going to sit back and enjoy what others have planned.
So Emma's asked me what my changes will be for next year, what went wrong, and what I'm going to do next year to make that better. So if you follow my channel, you'll know that I've gone back and forth the drawing board on designs for this plot, and I've come up with this. So in 2023, this had 2 large beds and a flower bed at the front, and I've decided I'm going to put all metal raised beds in here, raise it from the ground and use them all as a kitchen garden. So on the fig and olive plot, I did have a mixture of metal high raised beds and also some long wooden raised beds, and I worked out that it wasn't actually working in my favour to have it this way. So I've decided to remove the large wooden raised bed in the middle of the plot. It's rotting now, it's been there for years, it was sheared before I even took over this plot, and I've decided to add in some metal raised beds. So I've already got some of these raised beds, and they're a perfect size. They're about 3 foot by 4 foot, and they just are the perfect size for things like salads, spring onions, and to create that kitchen garden that I want on this site. So by next spring, I'm hoping to have all the beds situated, compartmentalized into each area, and then I can also have some wooden raised beds at the back as well for some shade loving plants. I'm Danny, and this is the Grapevine Garden.
Hi everyone, Will, Flying Gardener here. So Emma has asked the question, what changes are you going to have next year? What projects maybe are we going to be doing next year? Okay, because we're coming to the autumn now, we're thinking about plans for autumn, winter, aren't we? So first of all, I'd like to say the 2 major changes this year I've had is I got my polytunnel, which is absolutely fantastic, over the moon. I've just planted at the polytunnel now, cleared all my old peppers out, and I've put all the brassicas in there that I'm planning to overwinter as an overwintering experiment in there. So I've planted it up with purple sprouting broccoli and some kale. And the other major change I've had is I finally converted my whole plot to no dig. So the potatoes patch came up, I put some new raised beds, filled those and barked around. So I'm actually 100% no dig on my plot now. 2 big changes for this year. Next year, my main aim is to get a new shed, because my wonky shed is on its last legs. So that is on my big wish list and will be a big change for next year. Thanks for inviting me on your channel, Emma. Goodbye, everyone.
Hello to you all. So can you believe it? I've already got my big coat on and we're nearing the end of the season. It is freezing cold already. So we're already thinking about next year and what I'm going to be doing differently, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to be doing and how I'm going to be doing it. So right here I've got 2 raised beds, and these were used for mixed veg earlier on this year. I've had broad beans in the end one, and this one my children made their own vegetable bed that they've been growing things in. But this whole area is going to change next year, and I'm going to be putting in a huge fruit cage. that at home I've got 3 containers that are made out of pallets. I've had them for a good few years now, and I've just been using them to plant in annuals and things like that at the side of my garage. I'm going to bring them up to the allotment, and I'm going to have them in my fruit cage, and I'm going to put all my strawberry plants in there. So they're going to be moved from the beds at the front where my asparagus is, and I'm going to put them all in those beds, and I'm going to grow them in my fruit cage. I'm also going to have raspberries, maybe some gooseberries. I don't know what else I'm going to have yet. That is still up in the air, but I'm definitely going to be having a lot more soft fruits than I've been growing this year, and I'm so excited to have my fruit cage up and running. That will be going up after the storms that we're having now. I'm not going to put it up while there's so much wind coming, but it is going to be going up before next year, and I'm going to start filling that through the autumn with some bare root plants to really get going in spring. So thank you so much, Emma, for inviting me onto your channel and letting me share what I'm going to be doing differently next year.
Hey, so I'm Eli from In the Garden with Eli and Kate, and Emma has asked me to talk to you guys about a little thing that we're maybe planning on changing in our garden next year. So let me quickly show you something top secret that we've not told anyone else about yet, and it's going to be happening here, and you can see there's some trees behind me, so let me take you to the beginning of it. We're going this way. So behind me here then, you can see these 2 trees. Okay, these are flowering almonds. They're decorative, they don't give us almonds, but they pretty much, you would look at them in spring with the blossom and you'd recognise them as that stereotypical pink cherry blossom, and they look gorgeous for about 2 weeks when all that blossoms on them, and then it just turns to leaves, and then as you can see in winter they lose all of that and it's just sticks, if you like. Now we also, on that side of the garden where I just was, we used to have a really large mature rowan tree there, and we quite miss it. So what we're thinking, these 2 trees, we're thinking we might take them out of this bed and we're going to move them over here for a reason. So now that we've lost the big mature rowan that used to be here, we're quite aware of how much space and sky and things are here, and we've lost that kind of privacy, if you like. So we're thinking we're going to move those 2 trees and put them here. Now coincidentally, we've got a couple of shrubs that haven't done so well in the last year, and we're going to take them out anyway. Bingo, 2 spots for 2 trees. But here's the extra cool bit. In front of my greenhouse, I've got 2 columnar apple trees, so they won't get any bigger than that. But at the minute they're in pots and they grow fab, but it's a bit more work to grow trees in pots because you've got to really keep on top of watering and feeding. So once those trees are out of that big raised bed, we're going to put those apple trees into that raised bed just to make life that little bit easier. So it's a bit of a big job, and it's probably going to be done over the course of maybe a week or so in winter when everything's dormant. But yeah, that's our plan for over winter into next year. But remember, shh, it's top secret. Don't tell anyone. Should be good. See you folks.
Emma, thanks so much for having me on your channel. I'm Robin. I garden in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. As far as changes to my garden for 2024, hardscape-wise, I'm not planning anything major right now. But you know, those catalogs come in the middle of winter when everything's covered in white snow and you start dreaming big, so who knows, plans might change. One thing I am going to change is we installed these 7 large pots and I filled them with dripping flowers. They've been gorgeous in the height of the season, but I think I'm going to be smarter and more mindful and do food in them next year. I also am going to purchase 2 of these very heavy-duty obelisks. This one is about 7 years old. Only thing I've done is painted a couple of times. it has held up to every storm and bad weather event, and it stays out all winter. So I think it's a marvelous investment, and I'm going to get 2 more. Things that I'm not going to do again in 2024. I am not going to do as many weeks as I did this year. I love my alliums, but I just did too many weeks. I also did too much celery, and I am not going to do that again next year. As far as other things that I grew that I probably won't do again, cantaloupe is one of them. It's marvelous, but it does go down fast once the powdery mildew hits, and we get powdery mildew here every year. I did 4 types of tomatoes this year. Cherokee Purple, which I do every year, and then Brad's Atomic Grape and Tim's Taste of Paradise. They were marvelous. I'll do them again. But I did Japanese Black Truffelli, and it is possibly the most tasteless tomato that I have ever grown. So it's not going to make the cut for future years. I'm a little undecided on the Kalettes. It was so fun to participate in Will the Flying Gardener's Kalette Grow Along, and I started them inside in March, and they've been out, but it's just now that they're really forming the nice Kalettes to eat. We've had them. They taste nice. They don't knock your socks off. So I may not do them again because they take up a lot of space for a long time. And unlike in the UK where you can grow them on into the winter, it's going to be a hard stop for us here. I've got 6 days from now hard frosts every night, according to the temperatures that they're predicting. So basically that's what's happening in 2024.